Hi guys, welcome back to Olson's Garage. So today what we're going to be doing is working on the KX250. This thing has been needing a lot of love for a long time, so we're going to go through and do a bunch of things. I've got a new clutch for it. We're going to take off this cover and the big cover so that we can get in here. We're going to do some modifications to the clutch basket and try and make that engagement smoother and put a new clutch in. The other thing we're going to do is we're gonna put a new chain on this thing. This chain has been pretty messed up. This will become a spare chain. And then we got a new rear sprocket and front sprocket we're gonna throw on too. And I got some other goodies for you too. We're gonna finally be changing the seat and we're gonna do a little graphics update. And towards the end of the video, we're gonna throw on the new graphics kit. I think you guys are gonna love it. This thing is gonna look sweet. This is foreshadowing. Anyway, it's gonna be awesome. Check it out. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna drain the oil. All you'll need is a ratchet and a 14 millimeter right under here. There's a plug. Take out the plug, it starts to drain. It should be like an open crankcase or a gear case, I guess. So doing this won't really make a difference. So you can leave this plug in. But if we're gonna be doing the clutch and we're gonna be taking the basket off, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take off our brake lever. We just do this. It's a 6 millimeter to get this off. And then another thing that we do is we have to drain the coolant. So there's a plug right here. It's an 8 millimeter. You take this out and it'll start to spray out. So what we're gonna use is a funnel and then a jug with the same coolant in it. As this is draining, I'm gonna get my coolant stuff. We'll drain the coolant and then we'll take off this side. So this next part is probably the easiest way to do clutch stuff. And what I mean by that is, well, you're working on this side of the engine. So if a bike has two wheels, you can kind of just lay it down. And brother, I had to lay her down. But no, you can quite literally just go like this with it and then just rest it like that. Now, this isn't exactly the recommended way to do it, but boy, is it the easy way. What I'm trying to alleviate is spilling a bunch of oil right here, so everything will kind of go back into the engine or into the gear case. So this is definitely a way to do it. I'm not real worried about my handguards because I'm going to end up putting those wraparounds back on anyway. So I'm going to have to cut the end of the handguard off. So not really a big deal with me. If you are worried about it, make sure you put like a cushion, a pillow, a piece of wood. That thing I kneel on sometimes. I don't know where my knee pads are over there. I'm gonna put my knee pads on, and then we're gonna get back to this. But yeah, it's just nuts and bolts. Take the nuts and bolts off. Take off the hoses. I'm pretty sure everything is an 8 mil, too. Like these hose clamps, 8 mil. This cover, 8 mil. This back cover, 8 mil. The only thing that's different, I think, is this, which is a 12 or a 13, or maybe a 14. Yeah, so that's a 13, which it probably shouldn't be, but that's likely just the way it is. I could turn that into a 10, which would be really easy. But yeah, guys, don't wreck your knees. Go buy some knee pads. They're not that expensive. And your back and wife or husband will thank you. Girlfriend, boyfriend, parents, kids. So that you're not all busted up when you're older. Yeah, like I said, pretty easy. Kicker's gotta come off first. That was dangerously loose. That was crazy. I can't believe how loose that was. Is it because it's stripped? Yikes. That thing's not in the best shape either. This poor 250, man, I tell you. Alright, hoses. Should be able to move that. I guess the last time I took these off, I had the pipe off, so that's going to be kind of a pain in the butt. Are we going to be able to even take this off? I'm going to hope it's so. Oh. There we go. A little bit of moisture in there. Oops. Just cut my shirt. Dang it. thing. This may be a big thing though. Almost pulled completely out of the cylinder. That kind of sucks. But whatever, it is what it is. Sometimes things break. So we're gonna take this cover off first. Then there's one long bolt on the bottom. That one goes all the way through. Oop. Got that off. This comes out. This is held up surprisingly well. My little JB weld repair. So not bad. That was a pretty good test. This thing hasn't leaked a drop. I'm going to replace the cover, but I figured that would be kind of a fun test. And it was fun. So next, we're going to take off this stuff for the power valve. This little cap. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think we can just slide that out. I'm pretty sure at least. Alright, so like I did, you take all these bolts around here out, and then in theory, this should just kind of come off. Like that. Kind of. Oh crap, the Kickstarter thing came undone. Oh, okay. Not ideal, but I think it'll be fine. Not the worst thing to happen. Gasket. Power valve thingy's falling out too. There we go. Put that back in. Oh, that's not a big deal. That's just gotta get turned a little bit more and put back in. Probably do that right now. Well, maybe we should take that out first. All right, we're gonna take apart the clutch stuff and keep on plugging away on this thing. This all looks pretty happy in here though. That's a 10 mil. Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm going to reuse these springs or if I'm going to use the heavy duty springs that came with the kit. I put those heavy duty springs in the 125 and they just feel a little bit too stiff. I don't know if that's just the clutch or in the perch and everything or if it's something else. But yeah, basically we take all of this and we throw it in the garbage. And this doesn't really look that grooved either, which is kind of surprising. This can come out too. Alright, I'm gonna toss these clutches. Then we have this little bearing push piece. This comes out, keep that. And then I believe this is a 32 for this part. And then we have to hold, we could probably take an impact to get it out right now, but then we're gonna have to hold it and torque it later on. So we're gonna take this out and then we're gonna take this basket off. And maybe try and sneak. Yeah, I don't think we got enough room in there. Alright, so I just used the impact to take this off. It's a 30 mil socket. And then this comes off like that. There should be a washer here too. Make sure you got that. Put that to the side, and then you got this whole hub piece, there's another washer in here too. Don't forget about that. And then this comes off just like that. And we can kind of inspect everything and see how it's looking. There is some grooving in here, but the grooving's not super bad. We're gonna file it down anyway. The whole reason we're in here is to make that clutch engagement a little bit smoother. Yeah, everything's looking pretty good in here. You can kind of smell that clutch material just a little bit. I know you guys can't, but I can. A little bit of clutch material smell in here. Nothing I'm seeing that I don't really like in here. The spacer and spring and everything is in there the way it should be, which is perfect. A little gooky. I might give this trans a nice flush. Maybe we'll dump some diesel in here and kind of clean it out that way. But yeah. I mean, other than being just a little bit gross, and I'll be honest with you, I can't remember the last time I changed the oil on this thing. It's not bad. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to, like you've seen a couple times before, I'm going to take a die grinder in here, one of those flap wheels, and I'm just going to clean up all of these and make these all nice and flat. And then we'll throw our new clutch in, and then we'll be pretty much done with this part. And then we get to go to the exciting stuff, which is making this thing look really, really pretty. Oh, and we got to put it on the stand so we can do the rear tire and the chain and everything. But this thing's going to be sweet. Stay tuned. All right, so that actually went really good. Smoothed it all out. So we should be pretty much money putting this thing back together. These came out really good. Pretty all nice and all smooth. So we're going to slam this thing back in there. Just gotta make everything else line up. Sometimes you gotta move it around a little bit, but you want this to be nice and flush in there. And then we go toss on our big washer. Then this guy goes on with this washer. That goes just like that. Then we got our big nut. Nut goes on, and I'm gonna have to look up the torque spec because I don't remember, and I should have looked that up before I started recording. So give me 1 sec, I'm gonna look that up and I'll get back to you guys. All right, so the magic number for this thing is 72 foot-pounds. If you don't have one of these, get one of these. I didn't have one for a long time, and I really wish I would have. But these are really handy, and they go like this. They go in between here, and then it allows you to hold the basket while you're torquing it, or the inner basket, just like that. Actually, what I'll do is I'll spin it all the way around. that was my dad. We were just bullshitting about dirt bikes and stuff. So I guess he got a new helmet and a jersey. So he was telling me all about it. He got goggles and shit, so pretty cool. But yeah, so we got this torqued down, 72 foot-pounds for this, and then we used our handy holder, this thinger, locked it down, and ran it that way. Tightened it down, it worked out perfectly. Wedge it up against here and crank her down. So that worked out really good. Now we're gonna get all the discs and clutches and slam them in here. It's pretty simple. You basically just start with, this would be your disc area. So you put a clutch pack in, and then a disc, and then a clutch, disc, clutch, and basically until you run out. And then you always want to make sure that you end with a clutch pad, because then this would be your next disc. So I'm gonna slam all that stuff in here. I'm gonna run the heater because I'm freezing, and we'll get to the next steps here in just a second. So stay tuned. All right, so I got the clutch and everything back installed. Don't forget to put this bearing and put the bearing and the retainer in first, and then put the cover on. Don't put the cover on and then forget to do this. I don't know why, I always seem to forget this, but I'll start putting in the springs and I'll be like, ah, crap. So make sure you put the bearing in first, then put the cap on, then springs, then bolts. and then make sure to tighten them down as a crisscross. You know, make sure you keep that pattern just so you're not, you know, forcing it down funny. Make sure it sits properly too. You'll see a lot of times with the 125 is a good example. If you could orient it every 90 degrees because it has 4 clutch springs and bolts. If you had it 90 degrees off, it wouldn't actually press in properly. It wouldn't line up with the inner basket. So make sure it lines up right, make sure it pushes all the way down. This is all nice and tight, and you can rotate it from this, and it'll actually slow down the engine. So that's how you know we're good to go. Now we're gonna slam on the cover, and then this other cover, and that'll be it for our clutch install. Fingers crossed. I did put the heavy springs in also. Hopefully they're not too heavy and make my hand cramp up. You know, on a 2-stroke, you're kind of using the clutch a lot. So I'm hoping they don't cramp up my hand. If they do, I'm putting the stock springs back in. Stock springs are good enough for me. If I burn out a clutch, burn out a clutch. Gotta do another one. Not that big of a deal. So that's about where I'm at. I'm gonna slam the rest of the stuff together, and then when you torque all this, it's just gonna be like 7 or 8 foot-pounds. It's not a lot. And then make sure you reuse your gasket. If you do reuse your gasket, make sure to replace your gasket. If you do reuse your gasket, just throw a nice thing of grease on it, and because then in theory you're able to reuse it, because then it won't adhere to either surface. It'll just kind of stay in there. Then also don't make sure you don't squeeze it out either, because then you screw yourself again. But yeah, I'm gonna slam this all back together. It's basically press it in, make sure everything fits right, make sure your power valve is lined up in here too, that power valve rod. While you're in here too, make sure your power valves aren't sticky. These move real nice, so I'm happy about that. You can see them all moving in here, which is neat. But yeah, make sure this isn't sticky, and you can tell this thing isn't sticky because this thing makes a crazy amount of power. But yeah, slam this on, 7 or 8 foot-pounds, and you're golden. So we're gonna get this together and then move on to the chain and sprockets. Stay tuned. All right, so unfortunately we had some setbacks. I couldn't get this to return nice, so what I ended up doing, took it all back apart, and I greased up in here. I don't know if it was maybe just a little dry in there from taking it off, but I greased it up in here, and now it's perfect, just how I'd like it. So we're done with that. We got coolant back in here. We got engine oil, transmission oil back in here. And if you see stuff dripping throughout the video, it's probably just because when I popped this cover back off, this transmission oil didn't seep into the other side when I tipped it back over. So it might be leaking a little bit on the bottom. Hoping I can just kind of take this rag and clean up the best I can. It's probably gonna drip for a couple days, which kind of sucks because I just cleaned this thing. But that's fine. That's the best time to do work, when shit's clean. So we got that. We spilled a little bit of coolant too when we took it all back apart. But I'm gonna put this back on. Oop, and I lost one of my little spacer things. Alright, so I'm gonna put this back on, and then we're pretty much good here with the clutch. So that's gonna be awesome. Next, we're gonna move on to chain and sprockets. That should be pretty straightforward. It's just nuts and bolts and a clip, and it all comes off. And we got replacement stuff from Tusk. I want to say everything is Tusk, except for maybe the rear sprocket. We're going to go with a 48 tooth rear sprocket and a 13 tooth front sprocket. That's factory for the KX250s, where the 125 uses a 50 tooth rear sprocket and a 13 drive sprocket. So I'm putting this back together. We'll get this on the stand. We'll get this ripped off. Stay tuned. All right, so this is fairly straightforward. I have my axle nut on this side. Show you guys quick. So basically you need a cotter pin. You have your cotter pin. You're gonna take your cotter pin out, loosen this nut, and then the shaft moves that way into the axle, or to the left. That's what I'm trying to say. So then you guys are gonna need either a 27 or an inch and a 16. Either or will work. I keep a 27 in my dirt bike bag at all times. So then what I have at home is an 1.16 inch. Take that off. And this should just move. Sometimes you need a little persuasion. Make sure that persuasion is rubber. Give it a couple taps. And then you should be able to just pretty much pull it out. Unless it's being stubborn like this one for no reason. There we go. Make sure to lube these too. Throw a bunch of grease on them. They'll move a lot easier. Then take this all out. Throw it on the ground. And then we'll move the whole axle forward. The whole thing forward. Remove the chain. And now we pull this back. Be careful of your rear brake caliper. That's going to want to stick on there. And then you pull it out. Bam, tire. I'm getting so good at putting tires on this thing. I think this is probably the, I don't know, a billionth time I've done it. So I bought a new chain slider just in case it needed, or not chain slider. This is the chain slider actually, right here. And this chain slider is actually in really good shape. So I'm gonna leave it on there. I do have a new one just in case. And then I have a new chain guide rubber piece too. So we're gonna take this apart and see how bad it is. I think I'm into the metal at this point. So I think I'm gonna replace it. But that's pretty easy too. It's just 2 M6 bolts, so it's an 8 and a 10 nut. And then 1 more M6 bolt to take that off. We're going to break this chain, but it's not the same way you do like a sport bike. This is just a little pin that you can slide, and some of these lineman pliers work the best. I'm going to prove myself wrong the minute this doesn't work. All right, we'll screw with that, and we're going to push a pin out because I'm sick of doing this. All right, so I'm going to go to my chain brake tool, and then we'll just force it out because I'm getting sick of doing this. This is a Tusk chain brake tool. It's really awesome. I highly recommend these. Make sure you use the right size though, otherwise you'll bend them like I have. So I'm gonna break this. There's a million videos out there on how to use this tool. It works great. Then we're gonna remove this chain. Stay tuned. So in here there's a snap ring. It's kind of ugly, but there's a snap ring. You gotta just pull that sucker out. There was this guard and chain case saver too, and it's labeled 13 tooth right there. So then hopefully, these are small enough, I can get in here, open these up. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's why they call it a Jesus clip. Take that out, and then this comes right off. This thing was getting pretty beat up. There was a fair amount of wear on there. This is a Renthal sprocket. So it's actually pretty good. So we're gonna take this our primary drive sprocket, and we're going to replace it with that. So as you can see, just on there's quite a bit more tooth. There's less groove. Quite a lot more meat on there. I'm really only replacing these just because I want to replace the chain. The chain's been getting kind of crappy, a little bit bound up. So that's the main reason why we're even replacing the sprockets. Ooh, you left it on there? There you go. And then just like that, same thing with this clip here. Take your tool, spread them open, just like that, and you'll wait for a click, just like that. So that is installed, good to go. We'll leave this off because we're gonna run the chain around it. Next thing we're gonna do is work on our tire itself. So these are pretty easy, pretty straightforward. You're gonna need probably an 8 mil here
And then on this side, probably a, oh, I don't know, 12?
12 probably? No, do we have a 12? That is the question. Here's a 12.
Oh, whew, she's tight.
Alright, so kind of a pain in the butt, but what I found that you can do, hammer, loosen these up a little bit on the backside, then you can take your impact, run them loose. Pretty straightforward. You're basically just unbolting it, not rocket surgery here. Oops. My dad called me. Maybe he's watching this, maybe he's not. My dad called me, and he's the one that ended up getting the KX250. He bought that off me. So he's all excited. He's buying all this gear. So that's gonna be really cool. He's showing me he bought a helmet. And this dude used to have a, oh my god, it was like the oldest helmet ever. It was a full face, like motorcycle helmet, and he used to ride that with my mom. Oh god, back in the 90s. So yeah, here is our sprocket. This is an aluminum sprocket because it doesn't weigh anything. So kind of neat. You'll see aluminum sprockets kind of wear out pretty quick. This actually held up surprisingly well. I always thought this was a steel sprocket, but it is not. This is an aluminum sprocket. So kind of crazy. This may go on the paddle tire. Maybe not. This thing's kind of gacked. This will go in the garbage. Then we'll replace it with this primary drive steel sprocket. So steel sprocket, a little bit heavier, but steel sprockets are cheaper and they don't wear out as quick, which is kind of nice. I do like the way this Renthal looks a little bit better, but I know these steel sprockets are nice and stout. And then we'll replace the primary drive bolts with some brand new bolts. So I'm gonna just throw these in there. I will say, style-wise, kind of ugly. I might replace this with something else at some point, just because it's not really the look I'm going for. Maybe we'll see what we can find elsewhere. But I tell you what though, as far as doing it for cheap, this will be perfect for what you want. And it'll last forever. Throw some of this crap away. Throw that away. And then, yeah. Oh, I want to do that chain guide for you guys too. So on the bottom there are 3 bolts. Those are all 8s, and then I'm going to need a 10. Take the rest of it off. I don't remember where I put my 10. Oh, here you are. All right. Ooh, wrong size. Wrong size. Where's my 8? Here we are. All right, so we got our 8 And then on the back side here, there is a nut. We'll put this nut up there. And then that pulls out. Same thing here. And then another one on the bottom. And this just pulls out like that. Oh, this thing really wasn't in that bad a shape either. That looks pretty good, all things considered. I'll show you guys kind of what we're talking about in here. That is not bad. So I think we're gonna run that a little longer too. I did just want to inspect it, make sure it's doing all right. So we'll throw that back up. That back up. I'll throw this bolt back in to hold it on this back side. Okay, there we go. So that stuff is hooked back up. We're gonna throw our tire on and then we'll get to throwing the gold chain on too. So we'll be right back. All right, so another thing too, make sure your wheel bearings are good. That's just a little bit of brake hold nut, but you can tell these wheel bearings are fine. Way you can tell, you can go side to side like this, see if there's any play, and then top and bottom, see if there's any play. This is pretty much fine. I'm not gonna bother screwing with it. So now, obviously we gotta put a gold chain on this thing because gold chains look sick. This is a Tusk gold chain. And it is very reasonably priced. Like most Tusk things are very reasonably priced. This is a 112. And if you're doing this on your KX125, you are going to need a 114 because you have 2 more teeth on the rear sprocket. So because all of our chain guides were surprisingly good, I'm pretty much just going to feed this through here. Oh, hopefully it doesn't get caught. There we go. Oops. So we are going to have to adjust this forward a little bit with these things on the side here. These adjuster nuts. It's definitely not a bad idea to just every now and again just replace these. I keep on forgetting to buy the, they make like a repair kit. Just buy the repair kit. Make sure you keep these lubed at all times. These are a huge pain in the butt. But make sure to just clean these out, buy new parts for them, replace them every now and again, because they will eventually get kind of gacked up. Like this nut is a little bit gacked up on this side, and then it's a little bit gacked up on this side as well, unfortunately. But I mean, that's what keeps your chain tension. You want this stuff moving pretty free. Man, I'm so stoked about Kawasaki's 2-stroke announcement. That's gonna be so awesome. I am very excited. Does this thing really want me to go farther forward still? That's crazy. Maybe I should have put a 114 on here. Just so I would have had just a little bit more room, because now I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to... Oh, I got room to run my spiky tire, my ice tire. I'm definitely not going to have room to run a 150 anymore. I'm going to have to change out my ice tire to a 48. That's fine. That's not a big deal though. Just same wheel and everything. Hopefully I have enough room forward to actually make this work. I don't love how I'm running almost entirely out of the threads here, just to be able to put this tire on. Maybe I should have taken that 114 for here. No, that'll just barely work though. That'll be alright, because it'll stretch too when it wears out. But I tell you what though, Rocky Mountain recommends a 112 for this. I would probably recommend putting a 114 on here, because then it gives you more adjustability. But anyway, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. Just your nuts are going to be, or your bolts are going to be pretty far in your swing arm. Not a big deal though. Now we have our, if I can remember where I put it, Master Link. The Master Link is really straightforward. You pretty much just slam it home. Some Master Links come with O-rings. It doesn't appear like this Master Link comes with O-rings. Not a big deal. Nice thing about that. You know what? Is this even an O-ring chain? I thought it was. This may not be an O-ring chain. That is a very real possibility I just thought of right now. Which is fine. Maybe we'll replace this with something else at some point. But there's a lot of lube on here. So you take your pliers and you want to make sure that it's kind of going with the rotation of the bike. So you want to put your Master Link in with the rounded part facing forward if you're doing it on top of your chain. So then this is usually fairly easy. You just kind of grab a little bit at the bottom and you snap it in just like that. And there we go. Gold chain. I'll wash it off for you guys just a little bit so you can see it shine, which I'm also really excited to see. Got a little bit of brake clean and a rag. Spray it on the rag. Wipe this thing down. They put a lot of crap on here. And it really doesn't come off very easy either, which is a good thing, because when you get your chain, then it comes all nice. Well, you kind of get the idea. Everything deserves a gold chain. Gold chains look awesome. And who doesn't like a sweet bike? So there we go. Gold chain, and then you just tension it. 3 fingers at the end. We're pretty much there. We could probably just tighten this thing down and call it good. So I'm pretty happy with it. That's it for doing this. Then we just tighten the wheel down the same way as everything. Now this next part I'm very, very excited about. I've been waiting a little while. I've had these for a little while, and I'm really stoked to be sharing this with you guys right now. But give me a couple minutes and I'll be right back and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Well, it's not done, but this is pretty much what it's gonna look like. Use your imagination a little bit. I still need to rebuild, or I still need to reseal these forks again. And then I'm gonna throw some of that like grippy side tape right here to make that look nicer, and then just, you know, clean everything up a little bit. But yeah, this is pretty much what it's gonna look like. I still have to do the seat cover too. As you can see, I just kind of set it on there. We still have our old one. But that's gonna go on there, and these are the graphics. Now we're number 22. This thing looks sweet. I'm stoked. I kind of need to clean it up a little bit better. Thing is still looking ever so slightly ugly, but these new plastics definitely kind of give it some life. Again, I think this thing looks sick. I love these retro graphics. I think they just look great. But yeah, I think the graphics kit with, you know, all the holes cut out and the last name and the number, I think I paid like $160 for the graphics. The plastics are all UFO plastics. So they were... Oh man, how much were they? Is this front end sitting stupid? Kind of looks stupid. I think I need to space out this front end a little bit. Kind of figure that out because it looks like it's almost hit. It's kind of hitting the frame too. Like that could go up and this could go back some more. But anyway, we'll get everything kind of dialed where we want it. But the the plastics are UFO plastics. They were like $80, and that was for like everything. It was crazy. This piece, both of these down here, and it even came with new clamps too, which was really nice, and hardware for the clamps too, which is really sweet. Obviously the graphics kit came with all that, you know, the 94 look is just my favorite. I absolutely love it. So that's all 94. The seat is a moto seat gripper, and then I got the 3 lugs right here, which I think this turned out awesome. I think it matches the kind of purple that we're going for. Purple here, and then we got this basically the same purple color kind of in here. So yeah, just purple enough where it doesn't take away a lot, but just white and green enough to look still Kawasaki. Now I'll come in here and kind of make this thing look a lot nicer. But yeah, the last name on here looks absolutely awesome. I'm really excited to get this thing pretty much finished up. There's not going to be a whole lot else on the KX250. We're going to be racing this thing this summer though, and we're going to do some hair scrambles. We might do a couple of moto days, but that's just practice. I'm not going to race moto. I'm not very good at moto. New chain, new seat. We got a new clutch lever. We're going to replace this kind of ugly thing. Yeah, I'm not sure. I might put those stock springs back in because that just feels a little too hard for my hand. I don't know. I'm not really sure if I'm liking those heavy duty springs. I like those light springs. Yeah, I think we're gonna swap those out. I don't really love those. Oopsies. Swap out for those stock springs again. We might just go on Rocky Mountain and get a couple stock spring sets for this bike. I'm not really sure if I'm using them heavy duties or not. What else do we got? Rebuild the front end. I think that's pretty much it. Make the thing look nice. Oh, I do have more stickers. I have a swing arm sticker that says KX. I'm going to put that on once it warms up a little bit. And I got more time in the garage. I can get this metal up to temp. I have a sticker there. What else? I thought I had some more stickers to put around this thing. I can't remember what the rest of them are. I do have a green one that's supposed to go right here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or not, or if I'm just going to keep this on here. They do actually sell kits where you can get the rim tape too. You can put the rim tape, I think it goes right here, on your bike too. I think that'd be sick, but for how often I'm swapping out tires, I'd probably wreck them, and they wouldn't last very long on here anyway. But yeah, this is our KX250 build. New clutch lever. I'm going to be throwing an MX-11 on the back just because I found one used. I'm going to throw the MX-11 paddle on the back at some point. I'm gonna keep the Michelin front end because it's basically brand new. I think that tire's like 2 years old maybe. Rebuild the forks, clutch lever, different tire, seat, get all the plastics taken care of, throw the rest of the graphics on, and I think that's pretty much it. There's nothing else I can really think of. Oh, that's not true. I did find these radiator shrouds. I just need to clean the rest of the plastic dip off. I found these fan shrouds from a parts bike, and it's not perfect, but it's really close. This purple color, I'm gonna throw these purple fan shrouds in here too. So I gotta finish cleaning these up, and then those those radiator shrouds are gonna go on the 125. When I get that thing back, that thing is currently getting painted. I painted it, but I painted it at the shop where it's warm. Oh, that's annoying. All right, here it is. It turned out really sweet. As far as like tips and tricks for you guys, man, I don't know. There's really not a whole lot. It just work your way around. Throw a lot of staples in, pull it, make sure it's even. It is, I will admit, ever so slightly crooked. I could have pulled this side this way just a little bit, but I think it starts when I stapled this up here. I think I should have gone over just a little bit because it's not great up here, and then as it comes down, it kind of evens out a little bit. So it's not perfect. I think the next one I'm gonna do for the 125 is gonna end up looking a lot better. Turn that off, that's noisy. So I think it turned out really good overall. There's definitely some things I would do next time to make this look a little bit nicer. I think it turned out great though. I'm really not gonna complain for my first time ever doing this. I think it's gonna be sweet. And then obviously it looks sick on the bike. Get it right up in there. Get it where it needs to back here. I mean, that's what it looks like. So it's pretty awesome. I'm stoked about it. These graphics, the seat, everything looks fantastic on this thing. So all we're really waiting for is figuring out what we're going to do with those purple shrouds. Figuring out how to bolt those up, and then this thing is pretty much done except for that exhaust and what else were we putting on here? This thing's pretty much done except for the rest of the exhaust we gotta put on it and those shrouds. But I'm gonna do the 125 seat while I'm here, and I've got all this stuff taken apart. So it's basically gonna be the same process for that. It's the exact same seat, except this time we're doing a different color. I'll show you guys that too because it looks pretty sweet. So the theme for the 125 is gonna be green and black. So here is the green and black seat. It probably will look cool on here too, but I think it's too much green. I like the purple. So green and black on the 125. I think the 125 is gonna look sick with this. I was almost debating about doing the green in here and then doing these as purple and then this as purple, but you can custom make all these. You can custom make all these. You go on eBay or you go on motoseat.com. That's where these are coming from. They're really stretchy and they're grippy, so you'll be able to grab your seat with your knees and everything a lot better. So I think they're great. I'll let you know how they turn out as far as like durability goes, but you'll see that on another episode of Olson's Garage. Until next time, see you guys.